I thought it was that when he first started talking. I thought it was my headphones. I'm glad it was actually CJ's fault.
CJ's plan
My
to take over
fault.
the show is just to make himself as loud as possible.
Yep. They'll hear me one way or another.
Make them sound weak. It's a power move.
Yeah, it's like the podcast version of David Letterman's chair being higher and it being cold on the set. Egomaniac CJ.
That's it. It's all part of a plan.
It's all set up. Put this up here. There we go. Whew. Fills are in extras, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like a loss.
I haven't gotten that Ghost Runner home in a long time.
Yeah. Feels like a loss. When they can't hit at all, it feels like a loss. But maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised.
CJ, what's new?
I'm watching the Phils as well. What's new? 2 days off Chapstick, or however many days since it's been.
Don't do the show before the show. What are you doing?
Yeah.
There's a whole section of this stuff.
This will get cut out. People won't hear it. But yeah,
unreal.
It's been occupying a lot of space in my mind.
I actually told a story on the air today when I think it was like a week ago. I said I don't use shampoo anymore. And this kid who knocked me out in high school once, we were talking about this story. I hadn't talked to him since high school. He actually called up to apologize for it, but now he texts me every once in a while. And he was like, yo, deodorant's a scam too. My wife's from overseas. He was like, first couple of days are rough. He's like, past that, you're fine. I'm on day 4, doesn't smell. I walked 5 miles in the sun this morning.
Then why do people smell?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is diet. I think a lot of it is the materials you wear. I think people wear too many synthetic materials. I don't know.
I don't think I'm going to ditch deodorant soon, but I will look into it.
The entire toiletry industry is a scam.
Yeah, toilet paper, don't use it.
Don't use it. Use your hands. They're free. Big toilet paper would have you think something otherwise. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS. Brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. Or go to the special link in the description of this pod to get the patches and the bonus t-shirt. Jake Fisher actually texted me today. He's adopting a foster. Asked me for the link so you can get the t-shirt. Body Bio, get 20% off any Body Bio order with promo code Mike's Tummy at bodybio.com. And Kinetic Skateboarding, get 9.1% off your first order with promo code Dave Silver. On the show today, Shams reports that JJ Redick is going to be the Lakers head coach, which should be great. We make our finals picks, and I explain why I'm rooting for the Celtics. We settle the Chapstick controversy and find out the mystery of the English robot voice that appeared on the podcast without any of us knowing. Did mention Kinetic Skateboarding. Here's what I want you to do. Go to kineticskateboarding.com, go to the sneaker section, and in the search bar, just type in New Balance. I was looking at, they have a full page of New Balance 440s in colors and styles that I haven't seen anywhere else. And the cool thing for me, because I don't wear leather in my shoes, they had a couple of New Balance 440s that were vegan with completely synthetic leather. You're going to find stuff at Kinetic that you're not going to find anywhere else. I would recommend that you follow them on social, on Instagram, at Kinetic Skateboarding, on Twitter, at Kinetic Skate, because they always post the new stuff they have and the stuff that they're just going to have for a day, like the short supply. And go to kineticskateboarding.com, type in New Balance. I'm telling you, stuff you're not going to find anywhere else. And use code Dave Silver for 9.1% off your first order. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Larry, sweetie, the man is here. Say the name. I say the name. I say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all.
So say the name, say the name. We were right, y'all, we were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all, we were right. So say the name, say the name, say the name.
Say the name. Say the name. I say the name. I say the name. Say the name.
Likes Tricky Sanchez forever.
Got to make sure the song's over. You never know what could happen to the pod. Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who is doing the pod from space. That's what it looks like. That's one
right.
Mike Levin.
Anti-gravity chamber. Here we go.
You look like that space movie with Clooney and Sandra Bullock.
Gravity.
Gravity. Good movie. I like that movie.
Yeah.
So before we get to the other stuff, this is not on the rundown, but just was reported this afternoon. Shams reports the Los Angeles Lakers are zeroing in on JJ Redick as the front runner for the franchise's next head coach, league and industry sources say. The amazing part of this, and you'll never believe it, is that LeBron had nothing to do with it and did not know. And
Doesn't even know that they were looking for a coach. That's the crazy thing.
the amazing part is that they started this podcast while LeBron already had a coach
That's so weird, man.
before the playoffs started.
That's so
And
weird. It sounds so similar because Doc Rivers
oh,
was consulting
that's interesting.
when they had a coach.
Huh. And the amazing thing about both LeBron and Doc Rivers is they weren't thinking about this next coach thing
No.
while they were doing those things.
And it's honestly insulting. It's so insulting to them and honestly to me that you would even put it in a sentence that they would even consider thinking about that, knowing about that.
I have to give credit to former coworker Ryan Hickey, who I worked with at Infinity Sports Network. And he did tweet, I don't believe that this is totally true, but I do believe there is some interesting truth to it. It is that he said that one reason they probably hired Redick is that a lot of smart coaches with good resumes would want no part of that job at the current moment. And I do think it is a very tough job. It's like a win now job where you have very little chance of winning. So I also think, like, all of the reasons I think Redick is going to fail. One, his ego is far too big. And,
Every coach's ego is huge.
But-
That's not specific to JJ.
well, but there's a very big difference between acting like in the NBA, it is very tough. Let's put Doc aside and the guys that have been around for 40 years aside, to come in as a first-time head coach and have the biggest ego in the room on the Los Angeles Lakers. Like, it's not great. It's also not great when you can't handle normal media questions, and it's also not great when the entire team knows that you did the podcast with LeBron. Like, the entire situation is bad.
I
And-
don't think that LeBron is even guaranteed to start a spot in the starting lineup. He's gonna have to earn it, man. He is. It is nothing guaranteed. Everybody just come into training camp,
Yeah.
and we'll see. It's gonna be like blind. I'm not gonna. Like, I think JJ's not even gonna give them jerseys with names on the back.
Right. Like they're like in America, like they're the Yankees or something.
Right. Well, I think
Right.
it's like a blind test. It's like I don't want
Right.
to know. Sometimes
Who's
like
who?
for like when a showrunner is reading like scripts for staffing, they will like take off. They'll be like, "Hey, don't send me the title page because I want to come in and not know whose script this is." And I
Right.
think that is what JJ is going to be doing with like LeBron and Anthony Davis. I don't think he's going to know.
Wow.
that
That's
it's them.
That's very aware, very self-aware of him, knowing the
Yeah.
potential problems.
Well, I think that's what it is. It's he knows how above board the process was, and similar to the Colangelo situation,
I was about
75
to say.
candidates
Yep.
hired his son. What a crazy amount of luck it was that he would hire someone that he participated in the birthing process of. So I think it's just so similar to that in the podcast realm for them. So
And actually,
pretty cool.
There's one thing I have to check before we move on to the next thing. Let me just do a quick.
I'm very happy for you, by the way, because this is
Yes.
like a perfect amount of for the fact that it's JJ, the fact that it's the Lakers, the fact that it's
Yeah,
LeBron, the
LeBron,
fact that
it's
it's off
perfect.
of a podcast is really like what a beautiful turn of events for you to then get to contribute to and absorb content of.
I got a text message from another former coworker that has said, like, we should fly out to LA for the first press conference so we can ask questions. It would be a great bit. JJ, I'm coming for you, buddy. So here's the amazing thing is that
Game over, Phil's win.
they did. What
Let's
happened?
go.
Can you tell me what happened?
Castellanos double the opposite way.
Oh, there you go.
Scores him. First pitch.
I texted Ike and Jack earlier that there would be a Castellanos bomb to win it, but I'll take a double. That works. 8 episodes of Mind the Game have happened.
Was it exactly 8? I was
It was
assuming
8.
I was wrong.
Was your
Wow.
call 8? Did I say
My call was 8. Yeah.
Do you remember? I think I said 11. Did I say 11, CJ? I'm trying to remember. But there have been 8. They can't possibly be. They can't
Doing
possibly
more?
be tone deaf enough to do more podcasts. Could they? Before JJ gets announced?
That's like giving away state secrets, you know?
Yeah. Well, good luck, JJ. Pretty psyched for you. So the finals start on Thursday night. I'm going to mention a lot of DraftKings Sportsbook odds here, and hey, DraftKings, I'm going to mention the odds. So, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Remember, you can do same game parlays. Remember the live betting. I'm going to talk about a bunch of odds here. And when you sign up, use code RTRS, and I'm going to tell you about the bonus that you're going to get right at the end here. But it is Celtics. It is Mavs. The odds here, Celtics are minus 210, Mavs plus 175. Do you have obviously you are cheering for the Mavericks. Do you have a pick for the series?
With these odds, I would definitely bet the Mavs.
Yes, I would bet the Mavs based on if I were to bet it, I wouldn't bet Boston at minus 210.
I consider it closer to a coin flip than what the odds are right now.
Yeah, I think Boston obviously has more good players and has played great all year long, whereas the Mavs have sort of shot up in the playoffs. But I would also say at the same time that the Mavs have the top 2 guys that you would want in crunch time in a playoff series. In this series, like having Kyrie and Luka, those are the 2 guys if you're going to pick anybody.
I don't even have I just have such a boiling, heaving rage at the Boston Celtics for being back here once again, as you have in the notes. Tatum has just had so much success in his career, and that the only thing that I can cling to is that they haven't won a championship. And I'm so not a the only thing that matters is a championship, as far as that should be the goal. It shouldn't be about, I'm not Doug Collinsing. Yeah. We should strive to win, 42 games is the best you can do. But also I'm not this guy hasn't won a championship, that means he doesn't have it type of thing. That's the opposite of who I am. But
even though you'll gladly claim that about Jason
That's
Tatum.
right. That's the only thing I'm allowed. I can have it. I have
Yeah.
that. I have that. And I think part of being a hater is being malleable.
Yes.
And in this moment, my opinions are very malleable. My strongly held beliefs, I will contort myself in whatever way to endorse the Celtics not winning and why it is a fatal flaw that they have not won a championship thus far.
Celtics are minus 6.5, 6.5 in game 1, 6.5, 6.5 in game 1 at DraftKings Sportsbook. The only line, and by the way, Sixers, I was looking at futures for next year. Sixers are 7th in title odds. All just fucking torturing us again, but just put us at the bottom until they earn something different at plus 1,200. Celtics are favorite for next year at plus 350. The only line that I really raise my eyebrow at, and I understand how unlikely it is, but in the MVP, the finals MVP, Kyrie Irving is plus 2,200. I don't know. Feels like worth a shot, worth throwing $10 down at plus 2,200 for Kyrie. I could see a world in which Kyrie is the finals MVP.
Yeah, if I was capable of betting, which I am, well, maybe.
Will you be there? by
I'll
Thursday.
I'll be in New York.
Yes. Yes. You can
You
bet.
do it in New York?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
you can't bet every award thing in New York, from what I remember, but you can certainly bet on the series, and you should be able to bet on MVP.
Okay. I'll be in New York because my wife Alyssa got a short film into the Tribeca Film Festival that she wrote and directed, which is very exciting. So I'll be
Cool.
there for a while, and able to bet maybe Kyrie, maybe Derek White at plus 3,500.
As MVP?
I think it's possible.
Oh my God.
I think it's possible. As far as like value, I'm not saying
Yeah.
like that is my first choice if all the
Yeah.
things were equal, but I can see a path for Derek White if he shuts down Kyrie on defense. Obviously Drew's going to cover him a lot too, but they'll throw different looks at him. But like if he's close in scoring and also like leads in assists and has like a couple big moments, like a big three here and there, I could see that happening. As like good odds at 3,500.
If you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use code RTRS. It's code RTRS. If you're a new customer, you get 150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use code RTRS. Only at DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Got to be 21. See show notes for details. So I am going to. I do think it's a coin flip too. I like it. It seems impossible to call. They're interestingly different in their makeup, but also their strengths and weaknesses too. Like, whereas I'm terrified of Boston terrified if I were cheering for Boston, if I was a Boston fan, the last 2 minutes of a close game, I would be like very confident if I were the Mavericks. And I know that sounds elementary, but it seems like Boston's not great down the stretch and the Mavericks are terrifying. But I am going to cheer for the Celtics, and I'm going to do it. You mentioned it before. Jason Tatum in his career, and this has been essentially the same, playing time as Joel, has been to the conference finals 6 times and the finals twice. And that means the Celtics have been to the conference finals 6 times and the finals twice. In the same time that the 76ers have not gotten past the second round. It is such a fucking disgrace and insult.
Yes.
When you look at it like that, I don't think where we're thinking about the top of this is very far away, in that I want the Sixers organization's nose rubbed in the fact that the Celtics win the championship.
Yeah, I understand.
Like,
that.
I feel like this thing that you have, that you feel, I feel like on some level, Joel could say it to himself.
Yep.
The organization could say it to themselves, like, haha, at least they didn't win.
Yep.
And they don't deserve to feel any of that relief.
No.
Because whether the Celtics win the title or not, I'm still going to feel like shit that the Sixers lost in the first round again.
Sure.
And I want the organization to look at that one day. Look at that fucking list over a 7-year period and be like, 6 conference finals, 2 finals, almost beat the Raptors 6 years ago. Like, that is our fucking highlight, is that we lost really close in the second round. And I don't think the people in the organization who have been there long enough to have withstand all of this, who are responsible for basketball operations, they don't deserve to have this off of their conscience. They need to have this on their conscience, and I want them to suffer, and I want them to feel the pressure that, okay, they won one now. We're just the only fucks who have had a top fucking 4 player in the NBA and haven't been past the second round in a decade. It's embarrassing, and I want them to be just as embarrassed as I am.
So I think that is the only case that I would even entertain hearing, is the case against the Sixers in that.
Yes.
In the rub
That's
their
how I
nose in
feel
it
about
case.
it.
I think that is extremely fair reasoning as someone who hates the Sixers more than I hate almost anything else. I like that. I like that rationale. Already it is embarrassing. The 6 conference finals, 2 finals, to 0 and 0. So if they don't, I don't think it's going to make a difference in what they do, aside from make them just get some dog shit on their nose and chin. But Jokic winning a championship last year gave Embiid some
Motivation
to like really improve his game, which he did. sadly, obviously missed most of the season, came back not quite fully himself, etc. But you could see how much better he got at some of the things Jokic is great at, passing and like floaters, basically the main ones. And I wondered what a Celtics championship would do in a similar way to the organization, to Joel, whatever. I just wish there was a way to rub their nose in it that didn't involve Boston and fans of the Celtics and the Celtics themselves happiness, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think ultimately, while the case is strong, is a well-argued case, I will still be rooting against the Celtics because it is my birthright.
That's fair. I get it. I understand.
I don't think that the Sixers, Daryl, maybe ownership is the only people that would feel worse. I don't think Daryl would care one way or the other.
Daryl wouldn't, but I think Joel and I think ownership would.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, look at what Boston has. Like, Ainge leaves. They're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take our coach and make him general manager, and he's going to fucking figure it out.
I know.
And then they lose their coach to some weird, unexplained sex controversy. And they bring up this guy who looks, honestly, incapable of having a normal human conversation with somebody else.
Well, he's too busy watching The Town.
Yeah. and they fucking, they win 63 games and they're in the finals.
Yeah.
Here we are dicking around like a bunch of assholes.
We dick around like a bunch of assholes.
Hiring our
we've been doing that
sons.
for 8 years. Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree. The Celtics are an incredibly well-run organization, which kills me. And the only thing that I have
Is that they haven't
won.
Yeah.
And if the Sixers, 11 years into this goddamn podcast, don't feel that I've been rubbing their nose in it sufficiently enough for those 11 years, then their nose is impenetrable to shit.
Yeah.
There cannot be a further rubbing
Of shit.
Yeah. I cannot be my hand on the back of their neck and head just grinding their nose into dust
shit.
and shit is just, there's not, it couldn't, we are max capacity. And so on one hand, we have like going past 100% into like extra credit territory of shit rubbing. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, we have the Celtics being happy. And so I will be happy with, like, I've done a lot of that and will continue to do a lot of that regardless. And by the way, like them rubbing their nose in it, the fact that Luka Doncic is another like generational player like Joel Embiid, who would in that version have
a championship
that
Yep.
Joel has not been out of the second round. So I think that there's some rubbing that should happen on that side anyway. But yeah, I can't root for the Celtics. I do think that you made the point as well as you possibly could, and in a way that I could hear it, but it still falls short for me.
Wasn't trying to convince you, just trying to explain myself.
Yeah.
You know, so let's move on to.
Well, can I talk about the Mavericks for just a second?
Yeah.
The best, like, it's so pleasurable having a lob threat.
Yeah.
Having lob threats with Maxey, somebody rolling,
Also
going behind the defense.
A guy who can throw really
A guy who
good
can throw
lobs.
those lobs, which the Sixers have been bad at for a long time. Hopefully Tobias being out of here will help that, because he was obviously horrendous at both catching and receiving lobs. Zoe posted on Twitter the Sixers were, I think, third to last in the league in lobs caught this year at 29. Felt like 29 less. Most of those were Oubre. They got to be Oubre and like KJ Martin. I feel like were the only ones that did that. Just having, whether it's B-Ball Paul adding 50 more inches to his vertical in the offseason or somebody else, like just having some easy bucket that can do that, which the Mavs have with Gafford and Lively constantly, would be really, really nice. And the Sixers just have not had a guy like that since Rashawn Holmes, who didn't play that much and sometimes would did not play backup 5 a lot. He was still a 4 for some of that time here. It would just be really nice to have a consistent lob threat that could just like do that screen and roll, and on the other end protect the rim. There are players in the draft that could potentially do this. I obviously love B-Ball Paul. I have treasured all the time we've had with B-Ball Paul, but if there's an opportunity to get something for him and go get somebody that just does the simple lob threat, roll, protect the rim stuff on the other end, I think that would be nice in backing up Joel Embiid. Don't ask him to do anything other than that. And I really want to see Boston. You know, the Mavs defense has gotten really good, even with two like weak to very weak defenders in at least at times in their career. When Kyrie and Luka, they're both playing the best defense of their career right now. I would really love to see Boston have to go isolation basketball against the Mavericks, and for them to which limits how good of a player Derek White is, how good of a player Drew Holiday is, Horford, etc., and make it just be like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are taking a ton of contested twos with like 7-8 seconds left in the shot clock. I would love that. And I hope that Jason Kidd does that and makes them continue to take that, because that they will stop competing on the defensive end if they feel like those guys aren't passing the ball around anymore. They're just settling into ISO. They don't get to the rim that much. They don't get to the line that much. If you make them take tough twos and you don't give up open threes because they can swing it faster than you can contest, I really think that the Mavs have a chance, and I'd be excited to find out if that happens, if J. Kidd does arranges the defense like that. So I'm hoping that is the game plan, and I'm hoping that they miss a bunch of contested 19-footers, basically.
Well, I mean, by the way, that's how Boston loses.
Yeah.
They miss contested 19-footers. Like you can watch them and figure out how they lose, and you can watch them and figure out how they win. When they're shooting threes well, they're like impossible.
Yeah.
There's just too much. They have too many guys. And the other thing that has happened
and they can attack a closeout really,
Yes.
really well. So many guys. It's not just a bunch of like, Danny. No offense to Danny Green. No offense to Danny Green, but not just a bunch of Danny Greens out there that are either like he's not attacking a closeout very hard. Thank you for coming on the podcast, Danny.
What was the one thing? Oh, and the other thing about the Celtics is people have talked about the other teams have been missing key players, and it's true. They've also been missing KP the entire playoffs, basically, which is a big loss. It's not losing Tatum or Brown, but it's a pretty big loss. So, well, we shall see. So, something more controversial than me cheering for the Celtics has been the Chapstick moment from 2 pods ago. CJ, play the edit that was on social of the conversation. At the Sixers Thunder this year, I ended up close to the Thunder bench, and I watched bald assistant coach put some Carmex on his finger, hold it out, and then coach of the year, how do you say his last name? Dagnall. Swiped it off his assistant's finger and then applied it to his own lips.
No.
What the fuck was that?
Sorry. He went chapstick, which I'm holding, assistant finger to his own finger.
Yes.
To mouth.
I do think it's not the normal tube stick. The Carmex is the
Push out?
gel that squeezes out.
But then you just got
Still weird.
to hold it up to him. I apply it like this. Visual.
Oh, there you go. If I ever use
Regular.
chapstick, that's what I would do.
Do you not use chapstick?
I don't.
You never use chapstick?
You don't get dry lips ever?
Okay.
There's years of this podcast. You can look to see if I have fucked up looking lips, but I never do.
How close are your lips ever to the camera? I don't like that. You never think I could use some chapstick?
No.
Listeners, if you think it's weird that Spikes never uses chapstick, send us an email. I haven't developed a take about it yet, but my instinct is that it's a little weird.
At the All right. So I think CJ can attest to this on Twitter. The response was, I would say 95% chapstick is a fucking scam. It makes your lips more dry. Don't use chapstick. CJ, is that approximate? I mean, you looked at the tweet responses, right?
Yeah, overwhelming amount of people that were in support of not wearing chapstick ever.
Let me just chime in to say that if you're the person that refuses to wear chapstick, you're also the kind of person that really wants to tell people that you don't wear chapstick.
I didn't bring it up.
I'm just saying a person that uses chapstick a normal amount
All
is
I
not
said,
going like, I love it! I love it all the time!
No, but here's the other thing, is you guys both had chapstick ready It's not cold in either place. There's no reason for your lips to be dry. It's also evidence of what they're talking about. Let's go through some of the responses. Here's a voicemail to 833 Lickface.
Spike, Mike, President Harrell, Norman, just calling about the chapstick thing. 100% on Team Spike here. I never wear chapstick. Don't need chapstick. My lips are moist. I stay hydrated. If you start wearing chapstick every day all the time, you will then become dependent on having chapstick every day all the time. So the more you use it, the more you need it. And if you never develop a dependency on it, you'll never have to use it all the time. Every once in a while, rare occasions, you're skiing or something, that's fine. But you don't need chapstick. Who wears chapstick? You really don't need it. You don't need it unless you use it. And once you use it, you start to need it. So, team no chapstick. I'm with you, Spike.
This came from Lucas. Never use it, don't need it. Mike acting like it's weird is weird. From Ryan, similar to Spike, I do not use chapstick at all. I had terrible chap lips every winter for years. Adding chapstick only seemed to make it worse. Then a friend in grad school suggested I stop using chapstick altogether. I tried a suggestion and I don't get chap lips anymore. Chapstick is peddled by Big Wax to make you addicted. Get out of Big Wax's pocket and set yourselves free. Big Wax is an inside joke between my wife and I, as she still uses chapstick and still gets chap lips. In all seriousness, it appears some chapsticks may have ingredients that make your lips more dry, and then linked to the New York Times. Somebody else linked to the Cleveland Clinic. This is from Jin. Once again, as a converted Spike guy, I got to agree with my man. I never use chapstick. Do you know that there are tiny crystals in chapsticks that cause irritation that make you need to use chapstick more and more? It's true. Look it up. Seems like big chapstick has gotten to Mike and CJ. Also, something I noticed, where has Vegas Mike music been? I don't remember hearing it in a while. I stopped using it because we got copyright strikes every time we did it. I could tell it was making CJ anxious. So I would say, this is, and there like, we got one email on the pro chapstick side from Kathleen.
Let's hear it.
Hi. Regarding the chapstick debate, it's weird that Spike doesn't ever use chapstick, and to remember you bought it and used it once is downright psychopathic. To feel the success and self-worth of completing a tube of chapstick is unmatched. Then you get to reward yourself with going to the store and buying a new 3-pack of chapstick. My main concern about summer, though, do you use SPF on your lips? Have you ever had sunburn on your lips? P.S. What happened to that Burt's Bees chapstick you bought that one time? I think it's still in my hiking bag. And honestly, she sounds like she has been gotten by Big Chapstick. Is that all she's thinking of doing is going to the store and getting more chapstick? Mike?
I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
But you can't look. Sometimes you just gotta let them have one, and I'm not gonna fight for it. I'm not gonna do the. I'm not gonna. You can use. I wasn't when you said it. Me and CJ were both like, huh. It was not a instant. To the run to the battlements.
No,
and start the war.
I was stunned that you both were like, you don't ever use chapstick. Like,
to me, it's like to never use it. I think is pretty bizarre. But
surprising.
Yeah, that's all. But if you don't use it and it's working for you, my man, I think that's great.
CJ, as a chapstick guy, where you've indicated
they're
to
also
me,
so inexpensive. I can't express how inexpensive. It's maybe the most inexpensive thing I've ever buy.
It's not even about cost.
No, I'm just saying. As far as big wax, it's not that big.
Well,
if the wax is,
it's big enough to be a whole company.
The relief that you get from having chapped lips to then not having chapped lips after you apply chapstick is an incredible feeling. It's great, and I
Sounds
see
like
why
the way people describe heroin when they're addicted.
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
I see why people use it. I have been 2 days off of using chapstick since last pod, but I am probably drinking a lot more water because I'm thinking about it more than I was before. So that's all.
I'm just not going to start a moral panic about chapstick. I'm not going to participate because I think it's okay that you don't use it. I think it was a little weird upon hearing it, but then other people said they never do it and it's good for them. So I say to that, that's cool.
Okay. I can respect your shampoo. I'm on a mission with chapstick, not really a mission. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez is brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Woof! Go to the link in the pod description right now, and you can get the Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Bed with the processed pup patches, but also the bonus Big Barker Rebel t-shirt that looks like a slam cover, and you also get some stickers. You have to go to that special link. Good news from my house. We have the foster, Scotchy, who was scared of me for like 7 days. Last night, I was laying in the big person bed, and she came up and laid with me without Val there. Huge moment. And then I woke up in the middle of the night. She's laying on the Big Barker. Dogs love these things, and they love them because they feel comfortable. And they feel comfortable because they're the only true dog bed on the market. And it's not just about comfort, though your job is to keep your dog comfortable and happy. It's about health. I know that sounds crazy with a mattress, but Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds are proven by PenVet did a study to keep your dog healthier, keep your dog in less pain, keep your dog more flexible, more active. A 17% improvement in joint function, a 21% reduction in pain severity, a 12% reduction in joint stiffness. All of that with a Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Bed. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, or just go to the link in the description of this pod to make sure that you get the t-shirt. There's Big Barkers for dogs of every size, from tiny little ones, the Barker Jr., to big giant, the XL for your big giant dog. Dogs over 50 pounds, up to 80% of them develop arthritis as they age. And look, they don't even have to be over 50 pounds. I'm more than 50 pounds, but as far as humans go, I'm normal size, maybe even slightly smaller than normal size in terms of weight. I developed arthritis myself. I sleep on a good mattress. Your dog should sleep on a good mattress. Dog owner, keep your dog happy, healthy, best life ever. Can't do it without a Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Bed. 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, your dog doesn't like it, they'll give you a full refund. They'll pay for the shipping. Handmade in the USA. Big Barker Dog Beds. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I wanted to revisit the Danny Green interview.
Okay.
It was a
I didn't ask him why he runs weird.
Yes.
I was gonna try to do it.
We did get an email about it.
We did?
Yes.
I was gonna say, like, I also run weird. And I see video of myself and I say, like, what the fuck? It doesn't feel like I run weird.
Yeah.
But it looks like I do. And I was gonna ask him, but then he was a good sport about your question.
Yep.
About the Danny. About
He
like
was.
once a game you do something really weird. And he was like, I know.
Yes. But then
I
he
thought
said
pretty nice.
But then I don't think he totally got it. He thought it was only about shots. It's not all about shots.
Actually, in fact, almost never about shots.
Yes.
It was usually about him trying like a crazy pass or like pulling up, like a shot selection, pulling up from forever. Weird floater from 19, whatever.
The email we got about the running, it was from Luke. It said, "Hi, Spike, Mike, CJ. Just listen to the Danny Green interview. You seem to be real satisfied with yourself that you, quote, even asked him about the Danny. Well, did you ask him what it feels like to run around with crap in his pants?"
Yeah.
As soon as I saw the interview, I thought to myself, does this guy know that they think he looks like he's running around with a dump in his shorts?
Yeah. That's on me.
Yeah.
Entirely my fault.
Oh.
I told you I was going to do it, and I didn't do it, and that's my bad.
Yep. Non-basketball question, have you ever shit your pants?
Absolutely.
Yes. I think everybody has shit their pants. I'm sorry.
Come on. Grow up. Shit your pants.
Smear some chapstick on your lips and poop in your pants.
That's right.
So just a couple of Danny Green things. I thought he gave honest answers, informative answers. It was a polarizing interview, and some people found his honesty to be refreshing. Some people found his honesty to be very annoying, especially about how much he definitely dislikes Philadelphia as a city. So a couple of things that I wanted to take away from that, just to get your concern level. One, he did indicate when I asked him a vague question about how much you care about the general manager when you sign, he answered very specifically that he thinks players will at least be extra careful when dealing with Daryl, and that it could be an issue.
Certainly star players. I do think for everybody else, it's like whoever pays more money is where they're going to go, which is reasonable. I would probably do the same thing.
Yeah, I also think the situation that they're in with the only real free agent that we're talking about because LeBron got his podcast partner as coach of the Lakers. The only real free
It'd
agent.
be really funny if he requested a trade.
Yes, it would be.
Opts out.
The what's it called?
The real free agent.
Oh,
Paul
yeah,
George.
yeah. The only free agent is Paul George.
Yeah.
And the only way we're getting Paul George is if we're giving him 1 year and $40 million more than the Clippers. Because if the Clippers offer him the same thing, he's staying. So there's no way he wants to leave Los Angeles. So I don't think either the Sixers are giving him the contract with the number on it or they're not. I think if it was a difference of a couple $1 million, you may be able to convince me that the Darryl thing would matter. I don't think it matters when the difference is $41 million. So, but I thought it was an interesting answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think, who knows? We're guessing. But
Yeah.
as far as Paul George wanting to stay in LA
He's from there.
versus going to a new situation in Philadelphia, Darryl, I think it's all like sort of a feeling. And if it's like, if he loves the situation in Philadelphia, that like, okay, 1 year is different, that much money is different. If he doesn't love the situation in Philadelphia, or he doesn't get along with Embiid, or he thinks Daryl's a snake, or whatever it is, then it starts to go like, well, maybe I just stay, and it's easier to stay, and who knows? It's hard to know the mindset. But I think I do think, and as I said at the time of the Daryl thing, as the time of the Pat Bev thing, the Harden thing I meant to say, it does matter. This isn't
It certainly doesn't not matter.
It's certainly at the margins, at least a little bit of it's not going to affect every player, but when you're talking about only a certain amount of big time free agents or trade targets that want to go here and want to play between Joel and Maxey, if they go like, well, I don't trust the GM because of this thing Harden said or this thing Pat Bev said or whatever it is, two very vocal guys, then there's not that many. You can't just go like, okay, on to the next one. There's just not that many guys that become available that are that good. Otherwise, that's when you have to settle for the likes of a Brandon Ingram or something like that. And Darryl would say that, and I think he has said that his relationships around the league are good enough that people know he is trustworthy and he's not more whatever. But the book on people gets written, and that becomes the narrative. And it's like Darryl's narrative around the league, both with fans and commentators and players, is that he's just like a numbers guy, doesn't care about people. Now he tries to be more pointed about that, or intentional about that when it comes to his stars. Harden being one, obviously, Embiid being another. But now one of those stars has told a group of children in China that he's a liar, and then had a woman hold a sign up at a club saying the same. And so that is out the window. And it's like, okay, yeah, I churn through minimum guys, and I don't really care about the draft, and I'll get people out of there, whatever. But at least I'm good to the stars, and everybody else will come because the money's the money.
Right.
But if that other thing fractures, then it really is like, man, and Philadelphia has never been a destination. It's just, you just need somebody to come, and when the pickings are as slim as they are at that high level for the number they're looking for, Darryl having the reputation he does among some players, it has and could and will hurt.
I thought it was so interesting that he was sure the Sixers would win in overtime if Kawhi hadn't made the shot.
A little bit in your face.
Yes, it was. I admitted that for sure.
A player on the other team.
Yep.
Basically coming out and saying Mike is right.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's a nice one. I needed it. I mean, that's so much.
We didn't ask him about Chapstick, by the way.
True.
Yeah.
I bet he's pro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think the momentum there, the Sixers were just a better team, and the reason they lost in a couple of those games was because they played fuckboy basketball and thought that they would figure it out and work it anyway. And then they let the Raptors, obviously the Raptors still probably had the best player, but the Sixers probably had the next best three at that time.
By the way, the Raptors didn't probably have the best player. They had the best player.
Yeah. Kawhi was the best player, for sure. You're right. And they did a good job covering him, and he hit a fuckload of tough shots. And the Sixers just still should have won that series. The Sixers have been on the wrong side of every series. Every series where it's like, man, well, sometimes you just have the best player, and that's the team that usually wins. Well, not for us.
I thought it was interesting that he pretty clearly picked Paul George over Jimmy Butler for the Sixers. Given Paul George's scoring acumen, he seemed to be really intent that the Sixers need another true scoring threat and doesn't see Jimmy as that as much as Paul George, which I certainly understand. Jimmy works for buckets, I think, in a way that Paul George doesn't, which is one of the reasons that he doesn't do it during the regular season. I think it's a lot for him at this point. But I thought it was interesting that if I said all things are equal, you can have Paul George or Jimmy Butler. He wasn't even taking the trade thing into account. He said Paul George. Thought it was interesting.
I mean, yes. I think that there's an argument to be made for if all things were equal, going either one. And I think there is no argument if you can just sign one outright and keep all your picks.
Yep.
For a guy that old. If Jimmy was 5 years younger, then you could convince me of that situation. But for them to be around the same age and both dealing with injury stuff that could end their relative prime pretty quick, I think the guy that can just walk in there and at least you have picks to improve the roster is even though they're both flawed players in a bunch of different kinds of ways. The offensive flow of Paul George would be so much better than Jimmy Butler when it shuts down, and it's Jimmy ISOing from the elbow. That's the guy you'd rather have in the playoffs in those moments. But the rest of the time, Paul George is a better fit.
And this came from David. Hey, Spike and Mike. David here from Melbourne, Australia. Great Danny pod. I have two questions. Spike, how close were you to pushing back on Danny's pronunciation of GIF? And Mike, how close were you to arguing with Danny the way that Danny kept talking up availability, I think implying that it was one of the best abilities? I did not hear him say GIF if he said that.
I think he did. He did pronounce Dakota Mathias' name wrong.
Yeah, he called him Matthews?
Yeah, it was close enough. The fact that he remembers Dakota is pretty good.
Yeah. If I had heard him say GIF, I probably would have done, when he said it, I would have just gone to GIF. That just real quickly and just let everyone listening know that I heard him say it wrong. Your thoughts on his availability talk?
Let me just say.
Yeah.
I have nothing against availability. I think it is
pro-availability.
important that players play. I think it's very important that your best player is healthy and not dealing with chronic injuries. I would love for that to be the case. However, the idea that availability is the best ability, just because it's the saying that people say, is absolutely insane. It's been insane forever. It's insane that people keep saying it. I will never.
The number one ability is availability.
The
right?
number one ability is availability. It's crazy. That's not the case. They don't give the MVP award out to the player who plays the most games. If they did, your MVP would be Buddy Hield.
He's been very available.
It's just a dumb fuck saying. Stop saying it. You can say it's an important ability. You can say it's
the number one ability is availability, right?
You can say it matters. You can say you would love for Joel Embiid to be more available, Kawhi Leonard, et cetera, et cetera. But the idea that it's the best, and that's why someone is that good, is just batshit crazy. And we got to stop saying things just because it rhymes. And it doesn't even rhyme. It's just half of the word.
Yeah.
Half of the damn word.
It doesn't rhyme. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Body Bio. Mike, I have bad news for you on the Body Bio front.
What?
So I got a text message from Mike from Body Bio the other day.
Yeah, I sent him another video for me doing it's for Sweeps Week.
Oh, well, all I know is he said, "Hey, we're short a guy for the E-Light video. Can you shoot me a video?"
Oh my God.
So
if you become an influencer before I do.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
That's a ridiculous thing.
I didn't.
My Butyrate ad is in. It is in. He has it. He loves it. He's over the moon about it.
You and I have obviously had relationship for a long time, and I couldn't stand the idea of me showing up as an influencer without you knowing. So that's why I wanted to tell
appreciate
you.
the honesty. I don't blame you. I do think that this is some sort of big trick to keep me from talking about my
Influence.
stomach on an ad
So
during sweeps.
Body Bio. We love Body Bio. They are family owned and operated, South Jersey, way South Jersey, actually. Supplement company. Cares about quality, cares about your health, cares about your brain, cares about keeping you hydrated, cares about your gut, your brain, hydration. Those are the important parts. Now, Mike mentioned butyrate. If you're going to take one gut supplement, sodium.
Right here in my work bag.
You have it? Sodium butyrate?
Bang.
There it is. Sodium butyrate. There it is. That's the one you want to take. And if you search butyrate, which is spelled Butyrate, there's a few different ones there. If you don't know which one to get, try do the sodium butyrate. And the great thing about the Body Bio website, there's explanations for everything there. Me, E-Light is my hydration elixir right here. I drink enough water now. I drink a lot of water, but hydration is not just about water. It's about electrolytes. You want to do? You want to walk around drinking fucking Gatorade all day long like a weirdo? No. Powerade? No. You don't want that artificial flavors, artificial colors, unneeded sugar. Don't need it. You take a little. All this is electrolytes, pure electrolytes. You take a little bit of it, capful, put in your drink in the morning. A little bit, capful, put a drink in the evening. Keeps you hydrated. Got rid of all my cramping issues. It cramps in my feet, in my calves, in my quads. In my abdomen sometimes. It was terrible. Sure. Doesn't happen when I'm using E-Light. Go to bodybio.com. Use code Mike's Tummy for 20% off any order. You can be sure that the stuff you're getting is quality because they test every batch, and if it's not good enough, they don't sell it, and they wait till the batch is good enough. Again, bodybio.com. Use code Mike's Tummy for 20% off any order. This is one of the weirdest things I've ever woken up to. So we recorded a podcast one night, and, I sit down to wake up at, 6:15 or whatever. I go downstairs, I get some coffee, I start doing show prep for the WIP show. Log on to Twitter. There's a tweet from KYW News Radio's Tim Jimenez, who is a regular Ricky listener. Shout out, Tim. And it says something to the effect of, like, what is this? Or what the hell is going on here? And it's a clip of our show. I'm going to play the clip of the show here.
Life's tricky Sanchez forever.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky
Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin. So
sounds so close to you.
I'm staring at it, and I'm like, what in the fuck? So then I go to my podcast app. Can you play it one more time, CJ? I go to my podcast app, just to, I think it was Apple. Do I use Apple or Spotify? I forget which one. So I went to it. I was like, well, let me see if it's like that on my podcast. And I played it, and it sounded like this.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky
Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin. No fucking idea. Now, I text you both, and CJ's response was, well, your voice got cut off by the video. And I was just like, no, CJ, my voice didn't get cut off by a video. It sounds like a British robot. As it turns out, my voice, I started talking before the video ended, before the intro video ended. My voice got cut off. And CJ, instead of using the audio from one of our 10,000 podcasts, when I say the same exact thing to start the podcast, he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to generate, in this time of AI,
CJ, pop your ass up.
Where we can generate anybody's voice to sound like anything. I'll make Spike sound like Michael Caine in Batman, robot Michael Caine in Batman. Can you please explain this?
It was like 11:30 at night. I wanted to go to sleep. I'm not gonna
EP defense.
I'm not gonna use an old pod to try to make it seem like, oh, people won't notice.
But wait a minute.
I wasn't trying to match it up to sound like your voice. I thought people would listen and be like, oh, that's funny. Like, this is obviously not Spike. And to my surprise, you were not sure of what it was right away.
I had no idea. I thought that maybe somehow in the upload something got. I had no idea. I was terrified.
To me, it was so clear that it's like, oh yeah, this is like a text to speak generator thing that's been around for a bit. I thought you'd pick up on that.
No,
pretty quickly.
CJ, we're 75 years old.
Yeah.
You can't bring something new to us.
For reference,
After all these times.
It takes 45 seconds to create that. It was. I didn't put a lot of effort into it. I just wanted to get the pot up and go to sleep.
Well done. You definitely did that.
Thank you.
It provided good content for the day. We played it on WIP too. The hard to stomach YouTube comment of the week comes from Holden Slattery. Now this is in reference to the Danny Green interview as well. When did Joel lose 40 pounds after an injury? So if you remember, Danny said when Joel got hurt this year, he came back much thinner. And I just thought to myself, I don't think he did. Do you remember?
No, that's just never happened.
Yeah, okay. I thought so. This email comes from...
Or maybe like it was during it. I don't know. It wasn't during the season.
I think that's what he was talking about, though.
I don't know.
This comes from Joe. Writes to RickySanchez@gmail.com. Hi, Spike, Mike, CJ, and Daryl. Thank you for the pod. I'm sure you get this a lot, but it's really awesome to have this community of hardcore Sixers fans. I'm from London, England, and ended up supporting the Sixers after seeing them play in Boston in 2018. I hated all the obnoxious Boston fans, and being English, I picked to support the underdogs. Sixers lost to Boston after they overcame a 22-point deficit. I should have read the room on how life would be watching this team repeatedly fuck up in the playoffs and going to bed at 4 a.m. on a work night with nothing but misery in my heart and my fiance questioning my sanity. That said, I wouldn't change this sick love for this disappointment of a team for anything. Basketball question. If you could ask one process era player or member of the organization one question and they had to give you the truth, what would it be? I'd ask James Harden if he has a lot of sex to end the greatest debate of our time.
That's a good question.
If you could ask anybody anything, what would it be? The rights to Ricky Sanchez.
I might go to our boy Brian.
Okay.
And ask him who he thinks the source is. That's still as far as mysteries go, like that's the only like big mystery.
You know,
like, who liked people, who didn't like people.
Do you know who most people assume that the source is? Have you ever heard this before?
Tell me.
Coach Lance P or whatever, Doc Lance P, that guy that worked under. So
No, I've heard that. I doubt it. He seemed to go off the deep end a little bit, hasn't he? And
yes. But he was an analytics guy that Hinkie hired that I don't think had ever worked for a pro team before, but he actually stayed on staff after Hinkie was gone. And then many people assume it was him. I can say that. I don't know if it was him or it wasn't him, but he seemed to have a cross to bear with BC. And yes, his Twitter is occasionally, regularly sort of off the rails. I would like to know from Brian Colangelo, though. But he would yeah.
To me, it's like I understand why people, but like there's so many people in the Sixers organization that are not like public figures in a way that guy was. So it's a little bit like, this is a guy that seems weird. Maybe it's him.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem happy. Yeah. I don't know. I would love to know. Dietrich never knew.
I don't know how much I believe of that either.
I forget was it Rich Hoffman writing about it? Obviously it's been the anniversary over the last week or so of Burnergate. And I think it was Rich that compared it to Deep Throat finally revealing their identity like near death. And I would love if like in 40 years our fucking crusty old post-apocalyptic asses crawl back on this podcast to be like, well, we know who it was.
I think I would have to really, really think about this. I would like to know from Sam what was the plan with Okafor.
He was going to trade him. He thought he was smart enough to like boost his value and then trade him, and that was hubris.
Yeah, there would be something so satisfying about making Sam tell us something that he wouldn't answer in regular like conversation.
Yeah,
I think. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Those two, and I would like to ask Jerry. Did you know they were going to hire your son?
Well, Insulting to even suggest that he did.
Yeah.
How dare you.
833 Lickface is the voicemail number.
Hey, Spike and Mike. If you're going to implement timestamps, I think you should implement timestamps for any instances of Coach Mike, like playing basketball and things similar to that. Basketball question: why is a basketball not a square? Non-basketball question: if I like these sound bites, am I a Spike guy? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think if you're a big fan of the sound bites, you're a Spike guy. I think that's for sure. CJ, can you add timestamps for every time we use
What? Sorry, go on.
one of the sound bites?
Oh, yeah, sure. I can add it.
I think you're allowed to be in between. I don't think you have to be resolutely
A Spike guy.
100% or 0%, you know? I
CJ,
think
are you
can-
mad that I was making fun of the robot voice? I was just having
Oh.
fun. Okay. All right. Good.
No, I was going to jump on to say that I have been putting on timestamps. I
Oh,
thought he
okay.
was like calling like, oh, we don't have
Oh,
them.
no.
But I was
Oh,
gonna clarify.
by the way, Joe had a non-basketball question. I'm getting married next year and wondering what's the one piece of marriage advice you'd give me? Mike?
Me?
Yeah. I'll give one too. I'm just going to give
Well,
it to you first.
I've won Husband of the Year 2 years in a row, so the best ability is availability for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just listen. Try to listen. Listening is important.
I think so. I think it's been said before, but the don't go to bed mad thing is a pretty good rule. You know, don't be afraid of apologizing too. Just say you're sorry and move on, even if you're not that sorry. It's not bad advice. No argument you have, most of the arguments you have with your wife will not be worth fighting, you know, or worth winning, to be quite honest with you. From Catherine, writes to rickysanchez@gmail.com. Are there curses in basketball? Like the curse of the Bambino, the Chicago GOAT thing? Have we identified a specific moment the Sixers were hexed, if indeed there are curses in basketball? I don't know of any basketball curses.
Well, it's certainly not as baseball lends itself to that kind of mythical, spiritual
Lore.
something. Yeah, there's lore, something above, like bigger than the game kind of thing. And maybe it's just the fact that it's been around a long time. But it feels like there's some in football. I mean, it definitely would happen to there should be one for the Sixers and there should be one for the Clippers. It seems like and maybe like the Kings or the Wolves. But it's not it's not as mystical of a beast.
833 Lickface.
Hey, Spike and Mike. I have a harmless off-season question that doesn't involve the name Paul George or Jimmy Butler. My fellow Ricky or Jeff and I were just discussing how Jordan McRae is now playing in Greece, and we wanted to make our all never giving up on them lineup. Like your starting lineup of Sixers, probably process Sixers that you will never give up on, and that's your lineup of those people. So for me, mine would have Jordan McRae and KJ McDaniels. I will never give up on them. Thank you.
I think these would have to be players that didn't end up being successful, obviously. Like, you can't pick TJ, you can't pick Covington.
I'm pulling up the shirt.
I mean,
The
you're a
original
Christian Wood guy for a long
He's
time.
still around, dude.
Yes, he stinks. He's a
still around.
losing player. You were on Jonah Bolden for a long time, but now that he
He hates
tweeted
me.
at you bad, he doesn't like you, he's a crypto
Which
guy.
is wild. I was fucking number one, Mr. Baby.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the shirt. R.I.P. Drew Gordon, by the way. Very sad.
Oh,
Aaron
yes.
Gordon's older brother who had a stint on the Sixers and is on the shirt.
And by the way, is the second Sixer on the shirt to pass away in the last 3 weeks.
Bad,
terrible
bad thing to keep track of.
Yeah. Well, it just, I wouldn't have, it wasn't like I was
No, I
keeping
know.
a,
It's just sad.
a
JP
clipboard.
Tokoto, 100%.
Okay.
100%. Earl Clark, I really believed in out of Louisville.
Okay.
Was a big Earl
Louisville.
Clark guy. I liked Kendall Marshall. I thought he could make it as a backup corner.
You
Maybe-
like Kendall Marshall a lot, actually.
I did, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, that was also the time. It was 2014. It was get somebody who knows how to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
God, Elliot Williams, come on.
Yes.
2-guard lefty dunking. So those are 4. I mean, What's his name? Wait, where am I forgetting? The dude out of Arslan Kazemi. Being excited about Kazemi as a
I remember that
as a player was definitely fun. I definitely didn't hold on to hope for a long time, but was definitely excited about him as a player when they did draft him. I can't find a fifth. KJ's a good one. Jarvis Varnado maybe would be one for me as well. Look, there's been a lot of guys, and the further we get away from it, the less I remember.
I really liked Mariel Shayok.
Oof, God, he's so slow.
Yep, I really like
Royce White without the other stuff.
I really liked Isaiah Cannon. Of course, he was a favorite of mine for a while. Pierre Jackson, I think, has to be on the list. I think we both believed in the idea of Pappy Jack at one point.
Certainly fun.
And I also really like Scotty Wilbekin and Sergio Rodriguez.
Sergio Rodriguez. Yeah, came and went.
Yeah. And, he wasn't a process sixer, but it is funny that we did have Tyler Johnson for like 3 days at some point. Big Tyler Johnson guy. I think that's it. We will be back Sunday, I believe, as we close in on, we're about a month away, less than a month away from the opening of free agency and our undoubted disappointment when it happens. Can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, we got to talk about the draft. I haven't done much scouting. I mean, there's guys I like from watching over the year, but I'm having trouble finding time to do my typical scouting. I might be doing a YouTube big board like Spike.
Wow.
And we might have reached the same level of
consumption,
of putting work in at this point.
My Jack and Ike made me do YouTube big board for the NFL draft. So I did it by position. So it's a lot harder, by the way. Quarterback's pretty easy, but
sure.
All right.
I'm excited. I think they're going to keep the pick. I'll say that.
And then eventually trade the person.
Yeah.
I think they'll pick somebody. By the way, I don't know if you saw this. There must be some reason for this. So they've split round 1 and 2 into 2 different days.
Yeah.
Round 2 starts at 4:00 Eastern.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
What is the point?
That's really bad for me in 2 different ways. Because the day before is my rec league basketball playoffs, which is obviously very important. I would miss the game if it was a regular season game, as I said to you in that email.
Yeah.
But for the playoffs, I feel like I would be disappointing the podcast listeners if I did that.
Well, Ollinger's going to do it, and he's pretty drafty. So
yeah,
I think
he's definitely more drafty than me this year.
Yeah.
But round 2,
4:00.
starting at 1. What are we doing? It's 1:00 here.
Who's sitting at home wanting to watch the second round of the draft at 4 p.m?
No one is more second round of the draft than me. No one. I want a third round. Keep it going. But don't give me this half-ass, finally we're splitting it into 2 days to give the second round its due, and it's coming on at fucking Judge Judy hours?
Yeah.
Prime time.
Yeah.
Second round. 5th-year seniors getting drafted. Random guys from G League Ignite. Random guys that'll never come over. That's what it's all about. 1:00. 1:00 Pacific. Grow up.
It's ridiculous. We should just have Ollinger do the round 2 pod by himself.
I'm bummed. I love the draft. I mean, I'm really bummed to miss it. I might, depending on the timing, I might try to pop on if I lose in the first round of my basketball playoffs.
Yeah.
Then I'll pop on, maybe even from the car.
Oh,
what happened. We can figure it out.
We can actually, you can just call. We can call.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
All right.
I'm bummed to miss it.
We'll talk to you this weekend. Are you down with TTP?
Yes. Lickface.